Hello, world. Welcome to the Shannon Joy Show. Hello, world, and welcome to the Shannon Joy Show. We're broadcasting live from the Joy Virtual Studio right here in the beautiful, snowy Finger Lakes region of New York State. I hope you're all doing well and have survived snowpocalypse. It was the big winter weather storm system that crushed through the South, and we got about 18 inches up here in New York State, which is unbelievable. It's absolutely beautiful. The kids are home from school. They canceled school, so devastatingly handsome Dr. Joy is home as well. But of course, I'm here in the Joy Virtual Studio ready to go because we're built for this stuff in New York State. All the roads are plowed and you can really get along, but I hope that everyone else is warm and comfortable. I know that a lot of people are hunkering down. There's a little bit more precipitation, I think, coming a little later today, but I think we have seen the worst of it. And man, I mean, they really sell this stuff, don't they? Right? I mean, everybody was prepared for absolute disasters and power outages and shutdowns and all the things. And I don't think it's as bad as they said it was going to be, but that's really how so many things are these days. A lot of hyperbole, a lot of fear, a lot of anxiety. And things are tricky. Things are not always the best, but from what I've seen over the past 5 years, things can get pretty bad, but it's never quite as bad as we think it's going to get, or it's going to be. But things are a little bit nutty, of course. In Minnesota, another shooting over the weekend. And of course, we have the two sides lining up, the left versus the right. You see the headline from today's show, the hypocrisy of both the left and the right on just about everything, but in particular, the latest psychological operation, which is the Minnesota mission, which I believe is distraction, division, and chaos. And so while we are all distracted by the jackbooted thuggery in Minnesota, and not just ICE, by the way, we now have Antifa on the scene and the Black Panthers on the scene, which are obviously feds or a federal operation, in my opinion. I don't think that these are organic left-leaning people. I think that they're deployed in the same way that ICE has been deployed and the crisis actors are on the field in Minnesota. I feel terribly for the good people of Minnesota who are living in Minneapolis. Their neighborhoods are the theater of war right now. And it is very clear that the Trump administration would like to expand that theater into other cities across the United States of America by declaring or deploying the Insurrection Act, which is what we should be opposing. So I think there are a lot of crisis actors out there. There are lots of players. A lot of them are feds, and then you have the people. And this recent shooting of a U.S. citizen in Minneapolis, Minnesota, the victim is 37-year-old Alex Preddy, happened just a couple days ago, and it's igniting again the hypocrisy on both the left and the right. It is amazing for me to watch left-leaning liberal Democrats advocate for the Second Amendment, which is unbelievable, the right to carry a loaded weapon, yes, even to a protest. That right shall not be infringed. And amazingly, this argument is being made by the left today on platforms like CNN and MSNBC, while our own Republican conservative platforms are defending the jackbooted thuggery of ICE agents and the complete suppression and crushing of God-given natural rights. We are talking about Fourth Amendment rights of U.S. citizens, due process, Fifth Amendment rights, Second Amendment rights, and now First Amendment rights. All of them absolutely torched by this administration. So the hypocrisy is in existence on both sides of the political aisle. And I assure you, if Joe Biden was in office or Kamala Harris was in office, and whatever the crisis du jour that their administration decides to use to crush our First, Second, Fourth, and Fifth Amendment rights in this country, they would do it too. The left would be all over this, and then the people who are screaming about it now would be silenced. So both parties, I mean, both factions, the people who are even still in existence in either of those factions are full of full scale hypocrisy. And it's just not okay. It's not okay. So we're going to go over, very thankful for these voices: Tom Massey, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Matt Kibbe, Justin Amash, Derek Brose, Jason Bassler, David Knight, among others, standing up, speaking out in common sense. This is an absolutely outrageous killing of a U.S. citizen. It did not need to happen. It's now under review, but the talking points are coming out from the Trump administration. Kristi Noem, Kash Patel, Scott Bessent, the head of the Treasury, Secretary of Treasury, is out on media outlets defending this outrageously. They're also using very, very troubling rhetoric, saying that people don't have the right to carry weapons, concealed carry, to protest. In fact, Kash Patel said this to Maria Bartiromo on Fox, and he was quoting Kristi Noem. He said, "Kristi is right." Here's the quote: "You cannot bring a firearm loaded with multiple magazines to any sort of protest that you want. You don't have that right." So the fact that he had multiple magazines and a load to load his weapon. So according to Kash Patel, you can carry a weapon, you just can't load it, but you can't bring it to protests. That's insane. How many people do you think were carrying weapons or were armed in any of the protests that we saw throughout 21 and 22 and 23 during the Biden administration? Kyle Rittenhouse. I mean, conservatives and Republicans defended Kyle Rittenhouse correctly in that he had the right to carry a weapon, to have a weapon, even if it's at a riot or a protest. So these are Second Amendment rights that are now amazingly being defended by the liberal left-leaning apparatus here in the US and crushed by the American right and Donald Trump. But Donald Trump is a gun-grabbing president. We told you this, first administration, Donald Trump, red flag laws, bump stock bans, all of the rhetoric. What did he say? Take the guns first, due process second. That was the quote from Donald Trump. In fact, Donald Trump has, in his first presidency, passed more gun control legislation than any of his predecessors, including Barack Obama and Bill Clinton and Joe Biden. So Donald Trump takes the cake. And it looks as if he is deploying his administration with talking points to justify further actions to take away American citizens' right to keep and bear arms. And this is the crazy town that we're in 2026, because Trump is now being cheered on by Fox News, Alex Jones, The Blaze, Glenn Beck, and all of the sycophants over at MAGA Inc. and Con Inc. Second Amendment until you're a J6 insurrectionist. Absolutely. And there you see the hypocrisy of the left. The left was absolutely silent when Capitol Police abused American citizens who were exercising their First Amendment rights on January 6th. And as we know, it's very obvious and evident that there were feds on the ground on January 6th who led many American civilians unwittingly into the Capitol and into harm's way, and violence ensued. There were 5 deaths, I believe, on that day of U.S. citizens who were protesting. And maybe they were trespassing. Maybe they were, impeding the actions of the Capitol Police. But I don't think that they deserve to die. The J6ers certainly didn't deserve to die. And those J6ers who were arrested and not given due process and tortured in DC Gitmo for the better part of 3 years, their rights were violated as well. And we were standing up for them throughout those terrible times under the Biden administration. Right? So why can't we apply that same scrutiny and those same principles to what we're seeing in Minneapolis, Minnesota today? We can't do that today because apparently we're so divided, and the left and right-wing factions are so controlled, I think, by the mechanisms of the government that we can't have these conversations. Miss Lady K, the good, decent people are staying home. I'm very proud of Democrats and liberals who are out in the streets with their phones documenting. And I hope that that's all that they do. But it's getting very dangerous out there because I do believe Antifa and the Black Panthers are out there to foment more violence. In fact, we have a video from, these videos are making the rounds, a Minnesota resident, a Minneapolis resident named Kyle is now pushing out videos very clearly trying to rile up the left and get people to arm up and get out in the street and essentially engage in civil war. So this is some of the propaganda that is coming from the left. And this guy looks like an agitator. This guy looks like someone who is deployed, who likely work. I don't know how they find these people and how they get them to do these crazy things. But this is what he pushed out over the weekend in response to the killing of Alex Preddy. Go ahead, Annie, and roll that tape.
My name is Kyle. I'm Antifa, and there's so much rage in me that I've had to record this like 15 times trying to get the message out. They fucked up, okay? Go watch my other videos. Doesn't matter if you're not here and you're not caught up. You missed the fucking fight. But if you are, it's time to suit up. Boots on the ground. Nicollet and fucking 26th. My house is 4 blocks away. Anywhere between Franklin and Nicollet and 26th and Nicollet. Show up, ready to go. Okay, not talking about peaceful protests anymore. We're not talking about having polite conversations anymore. I am talking specifically to my fucking followers. This is everything I have fucking talked about, and this is exactly what I said was gonna happen. This is exactly what I said was gonna fucking come when we didn't fucking go and march on fucking Whipple with guns. Sorry. But welcome to America 2026, where Second Amendment is the only thing that's going to keep you fucking protected from literal fucking Nazi gunmen that are killing innocent people in the street with impunity. This is not a fucking joke. There's nothing fun to chant about it. Get your fucking guns and stop these fucking people.
All right. So that's Kyle from Minneapolis, Minnesota. Who looks to me to be like some type of federal, I don't know, chaos agent. So an agent provocateur deployed in Minneapolis to rile people up. You see the rage, you see the hate. He wants boots on the ground. He's giving clear directions, Nicollet and 26. No more peaceful protests. Get on the ground. This is insane. And I am praying that those law-abiding, peaceful citizens in Minneapolis who are doing very, very important work by documenting what is happening and standing there as civilians peacefully, this incredibly important work is very dangerous at this point because these civilians are now going to be caught between the feds on the right and the feds on the left. The ICE deployment and the optics with ICE is out of control. And these groups now of Antifa, armed Antifa agitators are also out of control. And this is just descending. It's becoming worse and worse. And the rhetoric coming from this administration. Now, if there were a Democrat in office with all of the power and all of the guns, control of the military and the nuclear codes, then I would be going after the Democrat. But right now we have Republicans in power. They're the ones who have the ability to calm things down and do this in a systemic way, and they refuse to do so. In fact, Trump is deploying Kristi Noem and Cash Patel. I have some videos from them as well. So we're going to talk about this piece again. Thank you to Marjorie Taylor Greene. Thank you to Tom Massey, who have spoken out against this. Tom Massey had this to say: carrying a firearm is not a death sentence. It's a constitutionally protected, God-given right. And if you don't understand this, you have no business in law enforcement or government. Gun Owners of America also coming out with a statement: federal agents are not highly likely to be legally justified in shooting concealed carry licensees who approach while lawfully carrying a firearm, the group wrote on X over the weekend. The Second Amendment protects Americans' right to bear arms while protesting, a right the federal government must not infringe upon. The Second Amendment of the United States American Constitution, or the United States Constitution, says this: a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Can we be any more clear? Kristi Noem, Cash Patel, Scott Bessent, Donald Trump, and the chorus of conservative sycophants gathering around this administration saying, by whatever means, any way possible, whatever you need to do, go out there and get it done. Even if that means dragging U.S. citizens out of their homes, out of their cars, shooting them in the face, pepper spraying them, busting down their doors, searching their properties, demanding to see their papers. All of this apparently is copacetic for the new American right. Conservative media, Sean Hannity, Mark Levin, Fox News, Glenn Beck. It's insane. Matt Walsh, CJP Rumble, I see you on the live chat. Unifed PsyOp. I agree. Meanwhile, and again, I am of the opinion that this is manufactured, that Minnesota is a theater of war. This is a color revolution, and the actors have been deployed. So the agents, those who are provoking and stirring up the chaos and the violence, I think are playing a role, and it's very obvious to me. But what is the mission? Of course, distraction, division, and chaos, and an expansion of the military police state and a crushing of our God-given natural rights and our constitutional rights. So as this is happening, the economy is cratering. I have a piece here. Peter Schiff is out over the weekend. Gold is up over 100, trading above 5,085. Silver is up over 5, trading at 108. Both are new record highs. Most are clueless about what this means and are in for quite a shock. Those of us who understand have been expecting the economic crisis that is about to hit. And I have a write-up on why, for those of you who have invested in gold and silver, those of you who have purchased gold and silver, you're feeling comfortable right now because you saw the writing on the wall a long time ago. There is no limit. I mean, at this point, I think that we're not even we're at the very bottom of where gold and silver are going to go in the next 5 to 10 years. So there's still time to get in and to get your metal strategies in place. But for the majority of Americans and for the United States of America and our economy, our institutions, everything, this is actually very, very bad. The markets are no longer pricing in a recession. They're pricing in a total collapse of the U.S. economy and the U.S. dollar. Okay, so the U.S. dollar no longer the world reserve currency, which makes our debt problem a debt catastrophe. When the world pulls back and essentially shorts the United States of America, we're looking at the big short of 2008 in a global sense. And they are going to try to reset things, and they're going to try to move us into a digital currency. And personally, I think the Trump administration and Scott Bessent and all the people around this president know exactly what's happening. They know that the Great Reset is in play. They're cashing out. They are facilitating and accelerating the economic collapse in the US along with all of this chaos, and they are now getting prepared. They're getting their exit strategies prepared, which is why they're plundering. And they're plundering right in front of our faces. It is as if Trump and his team knows that we're moving into, or that they would like us to move into a new world order, and he's A-okay with it. They're all fine with it. That's why they were at WEF in Davos. That's why they were in Switzerland. That's why Trump got a standing ovation. Because his mission is to divide this country so bitterly and usher us into civil war and a new police surveillance state and third world status in the world, in the world moving forward. That's my opinion. When you just look at everything from the 30,000 foot vantage point. So as we're battling left versus right and all focusing on what's going on in Minneapolis, the economy is teetering. We also have the mass poisoning still being deployed, Operation Warp Speed. Donald Trump, as you know, WEF last week in Switzerland, quadrupling down on Operation Warp Speed. It was the biggest, best, and brightest accomplishment of his administration. And he's very proud of it. He admitted in Davos that it was a military deployment. And there are some other really, really troubling statements from Trump that we're going to be looking at this week about that military deployment of not only the bioweapon, the COVID shots, but also potentially, and Sasha Latapova is writing up about this on her Substack and looking into it, but I'm hearing rumors of admittance to spraying, some of these illnesses and sicknesses that people experienced during COVID might have been resulting from certain spraying activities by the federal government. That is just what I'm hearing. I have to look into it a little bit more with Sasha, but we'll be bringing that to you this week. By the way, this week, Matt Kibbe will be with us tomorrow in the Joy virtual studio to talk about what is happening in Minneapolis, but also the creation of the surveillance state, massive funding for CISA. That's the organization that the Joe Biden deployed to suppress and censor medical freedom warriors throughout his administration through 2021 and 2024. Well, CISA is now being weaponized even further, fully funded and expanded under the Trump administration. So we're not seeing a rollback of those surveillance administrations. And the mass poisoning with Operation Warp Speed, this is linked in the show notes of today's show from Nicholas Hulcher, who writes over at Substack with Peter McCullough. Over 100 studies now confirm that Operation Warp Speed unleashed a turbo cancer epidemic. And I have the details on that coming up in just a minute on the SJ show. So we have the digital control grid being constructed, national digital IDs, digital currencies being created and accelerated by the Trump administration. Kristi Noem at the helm on that one for digital ID. We have the mass poisoning. There was another report from Nicholas Hulcher. I highly recommend you guys follow him on Twitter. He another report about it, infertility in the vaccinated populations. It's terrible. And and all of this is happening. No one's discussing any of this. And we're just being dragged into this nightmare in Minneapolis, Minnesota. We just have to pray. We have to pray that they do not have the justification to invoke the Insurrection Act, that they can't get away with it. People are pushing back. A lot of great videos linked in the show notes today. We have a video that we're going to look at. Spencer Hughes, he's a former right-wing talk radio host, and he has the talk radio voice. I love it. With a great talk on the hypocrisy of the right which we're going to be looking at. JP Sears had a scathing indictment of conservative media and conservative influencers today, and it was hilarious. We're going to watch that in a little bit as well. And then we're going to look at some of these pieces. But the piece we're going to focus the most on when we come back from our first break is this. Thank you to Robbie Sove over at Reason Magazine. Thank you to the libertarians for holding the line and putting out a very common sense and reasonable and truthful fact-based report regarding what happened in Minneapolis just a couple days ago with the shooting of 37-year-old Alex Preddy. Full piece here, linked in the show notes of the Shannon Joy Show. We're going to go through this, and you will come away with a real understanding of what we know, and hopefully this will help you discern against the propagandists on the right and the propagandists on the left, the agents on the right and the agents on the left, the hypocrites on the right and the hypocrites on the left, because it's so muddy out there, and they're changing their positions on a dime. I mean, the speed with which they contradict themselves on a regular basis about everything, left and right, is breathtaking. And it's very unsettling. And the design there is to get you to be unsettled so that you don't even believe what, your own eyes and ears and your own principles. You don't have the capacity to decide what's true, what's false, what's right, what's wrong, what is reasonable or unreasonable, because they are just throwing so much chaos at you and so much hypocrisy. And that was the nature of JP Spears. Is very funny piece that he put together, and very entertaining. So you guys are going to love it. But it does speak to something, a larger principle that average Americans, people like you and me, our neighbors, Republicans and Democrats, looking at all of this, trying to figure out what's going on, the difficulty it is in this country. And why is it difficult? My opinion is because we are being color revolutionized. So I want to say hello to all of you on the live chat. Everyone's looking great today. I see you, Mark the Regan, Fez Woody, Futurez. Great to see you. Mod Trend, Rick M1953. Good to see you on the live chat. Lots of new faces. Candy TV, great to see you. And Buskman as well. CJP Rumble. Welcome, everyone, to the show and to the Rumble live chat. Of course, we're broadcasting live on Twitter, Spreely TV, Roku TV. We're live on Rumble, live on Facebook, YouTube, and Substack. Oh, we have some great comments on Substack today. Great to see all of you. American Voice. Interesting. Yeah. So this is American Voice. Huge warning based on my deep personal knowledge of the Civil War stages in El Salvador years ago. The U.S. citizenry will say that in order for ICE to become better trained, in order to avoid what happened to Renee Good and Alex Preddy, that they will need exceptionally good training. There are reports that ICE is being trained by foreign military units known for a current genocide halfway around the world. Yeah. All will seem better for a time until, that's scary. That's scary. I don't want that. I don't want to see death squads. I don't want to see special forces training, and special forces agents being deployed in towns and villages across the United States of America. We have to fight against that. As Shannon says, a unified no to any type of authoritarianism is necessary now. Yes, the IDF, and that's what he was talking about there. Many of the ICE agents on the ground, I want to say 30% or so is the number that I saw, were trained by the IDF, which is a foreign military, which is quite strange. It is quite strange. Yeah, terrible. All right, so let's go. Why don't we do this? Let's take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to look at this piece in Reason Magazine. We're going to separate fact from fiction regarding what happened in Minnesota, and then we're going to get to the other news of the day. A devastating study from Nick Holcher posted on Twitter. Over 100 studies now confirming that Operation Warp Speed unleashed a turbo cancer epidemic. This is why we're bringing Dr. William Makis to Rochester, New York on March 21st for the Summit for Truth and Wellness. Dr. William Makis has treated and saved, thousands upon thousands of Americans. There are people traveling to Rochester, New York to meet him in person on Saturday, March 21st. In fact, we have people here in Rochester that he has treated, miraculous recoveries using alternative treatments in conjunction sometimes with traditional cancer treatments. And it's just unbelievable. Cancer care is the topic of this year's Summit for Truth and Wellness, and the tickets are almost ready. They're going to go up for sale in just a day or two on my website. We have everything ready to go. The venue is set. The lineup is set. We're going to be welcoming Dr. Mary Talley Bowden, Dr. Sasha Latapova, and others as distinguished guests at this live event in Rochester, New York. I cannot wait to see all of you. And the moment those tickets go up for sale, I will absolutely let you know so you guys can get in. Tickets will be limited seating. We typically bring in about 500 to 800 people. This is our fourth summit. This is only going to capacity here in our new venue is at 300 max. It might even be less than that. So it's going to be a really great day, though, and I can't wait to see all of you. So let's go to a quick break. When we come back, we'll continue with this discussion and more right here on the Shannon Joy Show. I am so proud to be working with Peter Schiff and Schiff Gold in 2026. There is no one that I would trust more to send this audience to in terms of a metals strategy, whether it's your gold and silver physically that you purchase and keep in your home or in a safety deposit box, gold and silver in an IRA, which you can do through Schiff Gold, or even investing in gold mining stocks, which Peter Schiff and his team can also help you with. It is time to get that metals strategy in place. Right now, silver and gold are soaring. Silver is approaching $85 an ounce, while gold is up over $45 an ounce. And people don't see this stopping anytime soon. I know it seems expensive to you, but I don't know that there is a cap to this in the near future. So you can get started now. I want to encourage you guys right now to go to schiffgold.com/joy. That is schiffgold.com/joy. Everything that you need, Peter's analysis, market reports, research reports. You can get plugged into his investment services, physical gold and silver, which we're going to be talking about this month, and also protecting your retirement with a gold or silver IRA. It's all right there at your fingertips on my page, schiffgold.com/joy. Hey everyone, I just want to take a moment to thank one of my longtime friends, associates, my financial advisor, and a beloved sponsor of the Shannon Joy Show, Don Polano over at PCM and Associates. Don Polano, as many of you know, was the very first Shannon Joy Show advertiser almost 12 years ago, and he's been with us ever since. I trust Don Polano. He manages some of my assets and my retirement fund, and he's offering his services to all of you. He can take clients anywhere in the country and even across the globe over at PCM and Associates. And as you guys know, it is so important today. There's so much volatility and chaos. You need a human being, a person that you trust, and a person that shares your values. And that's Don Polano at PCM and Associates. So if you are looking for someone to help you manage your retirement or have investment advice, please consider calling Don Polano over at PCM and Associates. His number, 1-800-536-1368. That's 1-800-536-1368. And of course, you can go to PCMPolano.com. That is PCMPolano.com to learn about all of his services and get in contact with his team. Again, so thankful for Don Polano at PCM and Associates. And I think that you are really going to appreciate his services. So that number again, 1-800-536-1368 for a financial advisor that you can trust. Welcome back, everyone, to the Shannon Joy Show. One of the most disturbing aspects of the tragic shooting of 37-year-old Alex Preddy in Minneapolis, Minnesota, has been the rhetoric from this administration and spokespeople from this administration, the Trump administration, regarding the Second Amendment. I quoted for you Kash Patel on Fox News talking to Maria Bartiromo and saying this, and he was reiterating what Kristi Noem was saying on another program. Kristi was right. You cannot bring a firearm loaded with multiple magazines to any sort of protest that you want. You don't have that right. Well, yes, you do have that right, Kash Patel. And the question is, why are the talking points going out to Scott Bessent, Kristi Noem, Kash Patel, Greg Bovino, the head of the ICE operation in Minneapolis, Minnesota? Why are they all saying the same things? Well, that's because that's a major focus. They clearly want to use this shooting to justify further infringements upon American citizens' right to keep and bear armed. And tragically, the Trump administration is the worst of all of the administrations when it comes to infringing upon your Second Amendment rights. Astonishingly, this is, the administration that Second Amendment rights advocates have been touting as the friendliest to Second Amendment. It's just insane. It's the complete opposite. We had the red flag laws, completely unconstitutional, bump stock bans under the Trump administration. And in fact, the only, I think it was Bush Sr. that was the only other president able to put in any meaningful limits on keeping and bearing firearms, and it was an attack on the Second Amendment. It's interesting to me that it's Republicans. It's Republicans that do the most gun grabbing, while Republicans cheer for them. It's just insane. It's just crazy. But this is certainly, it's obvious when you look at the talking points that it's obvious that they want this messaging to go out. They want people thinking about guns and limiting people's ability, apparently, to keep and bear arms at protests. So, this is evidence. If you look at a side-by-side comparison of what Kristi Noem has been saying to media and during press conferences, and what Greg Bovino, the head of the ICE operation in Minneapolis, is saying, you can see that they are reading from the same talking points. And this video was making its way around Twitter yesterday that really drove home that point, that everything that you're seeing, I mean, this is controlled, right? They're ready with the messaging, they're ready with the propaganda, and it's not about peace, it's not about deportations, it's not about illegals, it's about coming after peaceful protesters on the right or the left and their right to keep and bear arms. So it's a First Amendment attack and a Second Amendment attack. But here you can see these two juxtaposed together. You can see how they're reading from the same talking points. I thought it was pretty interesting. Go ahead and roll the tape, Annie.
An individual approached U.S. Border Patrol officers with a 9mm semi-automatic handgun. The officers attempted to disarm this individual, but the armed suspect reacted violently. Fearing for his life and for the lives of his fellow officers around him, an agent fired defensive shots. Medics were on the scene immediately and attempted to deliver medical aid to the subject, but he was pronounced dead at the scene. The suspect also had 2 magazines with ammunition in them that held dozens of rounds. He also had no ID. This looks like a situation where an individual arrived at the scene to inflict maximum damage on individuals and to kill law enforcement.
All right, so there you see it, the talking points. That was obviously Kristi Noem and Greg Bovino, exact same talking points. It's crazy. And they are reiterating what is being said by Scott Bessent, the United States Secretary of Treasury, and also Kash Patel as well, and this president. And great comment from Strident Conservative. I see you on the live chat on Rumble. One of the reasons Trump picked Pam Bondi is because she is pro-gun control. He linked it to a piece at stridentconservative.com. Trump pick Pam Bondi is gun control and anti-Second Amendment. we have covered exhaustively the attacks on the Second Amendment by the Trump administration, and it looks like they're going to gear up for more attacks. So I'm super thankful for the folks over at Reason Magazine who have put together this piece. It's the best that I could find, and we're going to pop that into the live chat so you guys can link onto it and share with everyone you know. The Trump administration is lying about gun rights and the death of Alex Preddy. Period. End of sentence. And here's the pull quote from Tom Massey. Carrying a firearm is not a death sentence. It is a constitutionally protected, God-given right. This piece was written by Robbie Sove over at Reason. And it is the best overview, I think, and the most sane and rational discussion about what happened and what the threats are to the American people today in Minneapolis. But Custom and Border Protection, as we know, agents shot and killed a U.S. citizen, 37-year-old Alex Preddy. He was licensed to carry a firearm, and he had one with him. The available footage does not show every detail of what happened, but Preddy was holding a cell phone rather than his gun when the officers initiated contact and began wrestling him to the ground. Okay. As I mentioned, Kristi Noem and Stephen Miller, also out with the talking points, have already declared the killing completely justified within minutes of it happening, claiming that Preddy had intended to murder one of the ICE agents. There is absolutely zero evidence of this, none whatsoever, they write here in Reason, which makes it difficult to avoid the conclusion that this administration is prepared to brazenly lie about what happened. I mentioned, and it's reiterated here, that other Republican officials, so we now have Stephen Miller, Kristi Noem, Scott Bessent, Kash Patel. I'm not sure what Pam Bondi has said, but I'm sure she'll be in the mix here. They are now taking the position that merely bringing a gun to a protest is a violation of the law or an indication of murderous intent. Now, video footage of Preddy's death shows that federal agents were using pepper spray on protesters. Preddy appears to be recording the altercation with his cell phone. After an agent shoves one of the protesters to the ground, Preddy moves to assist her. Several Customs and Border Patrol agents then decide to bring Preddy down. There is a scuffle. There is absolutely no indication that he brandished a weapon, pulled a weapon, had a weapon. In fact, if you've seen videos circulating on social media with another hand that has a weapon, a gun in it, that's not Scott Preddy. Many people are pushing that out. It's fake news. It was another agent whose firearm discharged accidentally in the scuffle that might have been what prompted the ICE agent to shoot Preddy and kill him. But, you know, there's absolutely no evidence. They're completely lying. They're absolutely lying. There is zero evidence that Preddy intended to harm anyone. And that is evidenced, you know, by the fact that they keep talking about, well, he had 2 magazines. So you can't have so you can have a gun, but you can't have ammunition, according to Kash Patel and Kristi Noem. Because 2 magazines means that you have murderous intent and you're going to kill an officer. Well, that would then apply to every single person who is on the streets of the United States of America, whether it's at the grocery store or at a protest or an event. Anyone who is concealed, this is legal to conceal carry and to have a loaded weapon, to have bullets in the weapon. That's the point of having the gun. Okay. So what are we going to see? Legislation from Trump that bans ammunition? So you can have your gun, but you can't carry it around with ammunition in it? Like, that's insane. But that's what they're saying. That's what they're saying here. Noem has repeatedly claimed it as a fact that Preddy intended to harm officers. She said this individual showed up to a law enforcement operation with a weapon and dozens of rounds of ammunition. He wasn't there to peacefully protest. He was there to perpetrate violence. Miller flatly asserted that Preddy was a domestic terrorist who tried to assassinate a federal law enforcement agent. That was Stephen Miller. Complete lie. Complete lie. And they call him out here in reason. These are lies. There is no evidence. They have zero evidence that Preddy wanted to kill anyone. And even if evidence were unexpectedly to come out that he was a secretly would-be assassin, it would still be wrong for officials to state as fact that he intended to kill. He did not. There are no known facts, according to this piece in Reason, that establish murder as his motivation. This is a man who was watching officers interact with protesters and recording it on his phone. Contrary to what Department of Homeland Security wrote on X, he did not approach law enforcement, let alone with a gun drawn. Completely false. These willful omissions and obvious lies do not inspire confidence that the federal government has any interest in discovering the truth about what happened. This is a glaring indictment of Trump and his administration and their approach to immigration enforcement, specifically, and law enforcement in general. And this is the crazy part. This is the crazy part. So many on the right will say that this is completely justified. They're just trying to do their job. They're just trying to deport millions and millions of illegal immigrants. And this is what Trump said he was going to do, and this is what he's going to do. And by any means necessary, this is the justification that is being given by conservative media, completely hypocritically, completely hypocritical. This same conservative media would decry the jackbooted thugs and the Capitol Police thugs that took down J6 protesters in 2021 and then denied them due process by holding them without charges for ages and then on outrageous charges for years in the DC gulag. I mean, they tormented and tortured thousands of American citizens. The Biden administration, as a result of what happened in J6. Well, we're in January, first term of a new president. Same thing is happening only it's the other end. Yet they're still trying to expand the power and the control of the police state. Both Biden and Trump, they're just using different tactics, different rhetoric. And the two sides are switching their positions. As I mentioned, completely hypocritically. But the craziest thing about this is that Trump isn't even really, for all of this, you would think that we'd be getting record deportations from the Trump administration. And I did a quick search. This is insane. This is insane. One of the things I like about AI and Grok in general is it's a nice search engine. And it can do a comprehensive, like anything I imagine in my brain that I want pulled up to like ranking or whatever, you can put it in there and you can usually find it. And it's all sourced. I mean, they spit out the information and they source it with all the documentation. But, I just did a quick search on, I said, rank administrations over the past 20 years, starting with Bill Clinton, on how many illegal immigrants they have deported. Like, who's the top? Like look at all these deportations and who wins the prize. And you would think, I'm sure most Republicans and conservatives would think that it's Donald Trump. In fact, that's why we need fascism. We need fascism. All of this, the death, the destruction, the search and seizure, the intimidation, troops marching down the streets, violence in our streets, all of it, the intimidation. We need this in order to deport illegal immigrants, and no one will do it but Trump. So we're going to give him all the power by any means necessary. Civil war, we don't care. Go in and get it done. They're granting Donald Trump dictatorial powers, the conservative right, because they're telling their audiences that he's going to deport illegals. Well, here's the list. This is insane. Total removals plus returns, standard enforcement actions, excluding Title 42, which is public health expulsions. They weren't counted as standard deportations, but the Obama administration used that extensively to deport. Okay. And all of these presidents were able to deport millions and millions and millions of American citizens without doing what Donald Trump and the Republicans are doing in Minneapolis, Minnesota today. Okay. So keep that in mind when I give you these numbers. This is the most historically consistent metric for total deportations. Total removals plus returns. This is accepted using standard enforcement actions. Bill Clinton, number one, between 1993 and 2001, he deported 12.3 million. George W. Bush came in second. Between 2001 and 9, he deported 10.3 million. Barack Obama came in third place. 2009 to 2017, he deported 5.3 million illegal immigrants. Did we see chaos in the streets? Did we see the ICE Gestapo deployed into towns and villages, stepping on the necks of American citizens, breaking into their homes, detaining them and keeping them against their will for hours upon hours with questioning, asking for their papers? No. How on earth did we deport 12.3 million people during the Bill Clinton administration without ICE and the Nazis and the Gestapo? Pray tell, how did we do it? Well, there are lots of ways that we won't get into today, but this is clearly not what this administration is doing. In fourth place, Joe Biden. We are ranking the number of deportations by administration going back to Bill Clinton. Joe Biden comes in fourth place with 2.5 to 3 million deportations during his presidency, 2021 to 25. And dead last in terms of deportations, Donald J. Trump in his first term deported only 1.5 million illegal immigrants. And in his second term, at this point, according to partial data, in 1 year, 350,000 deportations. Okay? That's not going to even touch the number of deportations that happened under the Bill Clinton, Barack Obama, and Joe Biden administrations. And for all of this, the conservative right is willing to shred our Constitution and adopt the tactics of a dictatorial police state in Minnesota to get a measly 350,000 deportations. That's the craziness of all of this. Minneapolis is not about deporting illegals. It is about normalizing the brute tactics of a military police state. And it's being deployed by Donald Trump. In the same way that J6 and the protest on the Capitol, the incitement by federal agents for innocent civilians to go into the Capitol, it was not about protesting a stolen election. It was about normalizing the brute tactics of a militarized police state, and that was done under Biden. And they will keep doing this as long as we allow ourselves to fall for these tactics and these psyops, as long as we continue to engage in this discourse and not call it out for what it is, which is a psychological military operation deployed against we the people on both sides of the political aisles. Until enough Americans wake up to that, we are going to continue to descend, and they're going to continue to normalize these tactics. Donald Trump pardoned the J6 prisoners, but his administration has done nothing to address the systematic suppression of their rights. The infrastructure is still there. The apparatus is still there. No one went to prison. There are no hearings. There is no review of executive orders or the law or review of what happened on J6. It's like it didn't happen. They get the pardon, it's over. And the military police state continues to expand. They go on in this Peace and Reason. Very good piece. Thank you, Robbie So, for putting this together. We'll link it in the show notes of the Shannon Joy Show and on the live chat. They said the willful admissions and obvious lies do not inspire confidence that the federal government has any interest in discovering the truth of what happened. They do not. The truth doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. And they go on as if quietly conceding that none of the available facts were advancing their preferred narrative. Several Republican officials are taking the ludicrous position that merely possessing a gun in the first place is evidence of intent to cause harm. Besant and Patel both sided with Noam on Sunday morning shows, agreeing that Preddy should not have possessed the gun in the first place. Besant said that the protesters should carry billboards rather than guns. Patel said that bringing a gun to a protest was a violation of the law. Absolutely false and insane that the head of the FBI would tell such a lie, that bringing a gun to a protest is a violation of the law. That is false. That is a complete lie. This is simply untrue, as Minnesota is a concealed carry state, obviously, where it is lawful to carry a firearm in public office or in public places. The notion that an individual cannot carry and should not exercise his First Amendment and Second Amendment rights. He was videotaping what law enforcement agents were doing in the streets of his town. That is protected speech. That is a protected right. They are protected. Standing up and protesting the actions of a federal government or an administration or a political party, this is protected speech. The protesters have a right to be there, and they have a right to video record what is happening, period. And if it were a Democrat president doing this on another topic, the right would be losing their minds. U.S. Attorney for the Central District of California, Bill Esseley, went even further in the wrong direction, writing this on X. If you approach law enforcement with a gun, there is a high likelihood they will be legally justified in shooting you. Insane. And this is why thank you to Tom Massey, again, a voice of reason, Kentucky. Thank you to Marjorie Taylor Greene. Thank you to Tom Massey. Thank you to Gun Owners of America, Matt Kibbe, Justin Amash, who came out and spoke about this. Great statement from him. Massey had this to say: carrying a firearm is not a death sentence. It is a constitutionally protected, God-given right. And if you don't understand this, you have no business in law enforcement or government. Justin Amash had this to say, very prescient observations. The topic of immigration enforcement is like the right's version of COVID hysteria. What, do you want millions of Americans to die from illegal immigrants? Well, Trump isn't even deporting them. Trump is the biggest loser in deportations of any administration in the past 20 years, including the Clinton administration, the Biden administration, and the Obama administration. They all kicked his butt when it came to deporting illegal immigrants. Those are the facts, okay? And the right apparently cannot handle this. Trump isn't even deporting at the levels of his predecessors, even Joe Biden. Just obey orders and you'll be fine. Do your part. Your rights aren't absolute. Government officials are acting lawfully, and you don't have the right to undermine their efforts. This is the reasoning coming out of the right now. Stay home. The hypocrites on the right. Stay home when DHS is in your area if you don't want to be stopped and questioned. Are they insane? You need to carry and show your papers when you go out. It's for everyone's safety. Oh, really? My digital ID, just like a vaccine card. I have to present my vaccine card in order to get into a restaurant or on a plane. Insane. Trust the experts. These former DOJ prosecutors say the Fourth Amendment allows this. Absolutely false. Stop spreading misinformation about ICE and CBP Customs and Border Patrol. Your words are dangerous and will get more people killed. This is an emergency. I don't care what the government does. We need to stop the spread of foreigners, and the Constitution isn't a suicide pact, okay? So he's absolutely right. He's absolutely right. I see some of you on Substack. Hey, Rachel Suzanne, great to see you. So glad you are covering this. It's awesome to see you on Substack, Rachel. Peter Hansen on Substack. The ICE IDF connection is very clear. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. And let's take a look at the live chat on Rumble. Hells Bay. Yes, silver breaches 131 in China. Silver futures just crossed at 131 while COMEX lags at 114. USD is going down fast. It's crazy. It's crazy. It's the dollar. It's insane. We are witnessing, I mean, this is all a big distraction. And again, we have some great guests coming on. This week on the Shannon Joy Show, we have Matt Kibbe live tomorrow in the SJ studio. And then on Thursday, we have David Knight to talk about not only this, but all of the other chaos that has happened. Economic chaos, societal chaos, and things are getting pretty crazy. What's happening with gold and silver is horrifying for the U.S. market and for the U.S. dollar. And so we're going to look at this piece from No Limit Gains in a minute so that you guys can be informed about where things are going. Again, people on the right who are consuming conservative media literally think that we are in the best economy ever. They are they are down the rabbit hole. I mean, it's Looney Tunes. It's absolutely Looney Tunes what these people believe. But people with their heads on straight know that things are pretty bad in the markets. The numbers that came out, we went over the numbers last week, and they're pretty devastating. But it's the real canary in the coal mine is gold and silver. And something that is very interesting and quite disturbing is that here in U.S. markets, when valued using the dollar, gold and silver are much, much lower than what we're seeing spot prices and what you can actually buy actual gold and silver for than we're seeing in Chinese markets and Indian markets, international markets abroad. So this means that something is happening with gold and silver and also with the dollar. And we have a great piece that we're going to look at when we come back as we finish out the show here on the Shannon Joy Show. And we're going to be hitting a lot of those topics so that we can get as many of you prepared. Listen, times are going to be tough and it is going to be a bumpy ride, but that doesn't mean that we can't do what Americans do and figure out how to survive, but also thrive amidst this chaos until we can wrench control of our country away from the lunatics and the criminals in Washington, D.C., who are driving this nation off a cliff. That's going to be a heavy lift for we the people of the United States of America, but we can do it, especially if we omit ourselves from the two-party political paradigms and find each other as a culture and a community and a nation that is built on principles that are laid out in our Constitution. That's the answer. Localism, bottom up, our constitutional principles, and embracing the truth. And we can do that in this country, but we just have to find each other first. We are going to go to break. We'll be back in a moment to close out the Shannon Joy Show right here on the Shannon Joy Show. At 123.com/joy. Everything that you're going to need for preparation: generators, solar panels, Faraday products. If you want to disappear and protect yourself from the surveillance state, they have an entire line of amazing Faraday products called dark bags. They're always 10% off at the satellite phone store if you go to sat123.com/joy. That is sat123.com/joy. The satellite phone store has supported the Shannon Joy Show for many years. They are amazing partners, and let's help the companies that help keep the lights on here at the Shannon Joy Show. So if you are in the market for any of their products or services, make sure you use that promo code JOY and go to sat123.com/joy. That's sat123.com/joy. I can't tell you how many Americans are now not trusting their food supply and our United States healthcare food system, because as you know, there are so many toxins that are being deployed through our food supply. And this is why so many Americans are now eating like their health depends on it. And that's because most disease does not start in your genes. It actually starts in your kitchen and in your gut. Our food supply has been hijacked. That's just the truth. From Roundup poison to mRNA animal injections, Big Ag and Big Pharma have strategically synced up to get people stuck on a subliminal medical loop. And the wellness company, they're no longer accepting a system where the health industry ignores food and the food industry ignores health. They have to work together. Meet Wellness Farms, a new way to fuel your body from a trusted brand who puts people before profits. So here we go. Hand-selected USA small farmed beef boxes, where the beef goes from a pasture to a butcher, flash frozen, and then right to your door. Think old school meets modernized convenience from the Wellness Company. It is the purest. So mRNA and vaccine free, grass-fed, grass-finished cattle raised on regenerative American farms, which is amazing. And these are family farms. And the animals are cared for in a way that restores the soil, protects ecosystems, and produces nutrient-dense meat how nature intended. Each box is unique, and it has unique cuts broken down by mineral and gut health focuses. No antibiotics, no hormones, just clean, honest, regeneratively raised food. We are thankful for, we do got the meats. We're so thankful for the Wellness Company and their support. Make sure that you always use the promo code MARY for any of your other purchases. But for today, make sure that you use Mary Farms to get $85 off your first beef box. I can't wait to try mine. Welcome back, everyone, to the Shannon Joy Show as we close out the Monday edition of the Shannon Joy Show live right here on Rumble and Twitter and Substack and Facebook and YouTube. Loving some of the comments coming from the Twitter. Hey, Jared, how are you? Never let a good crisis go to waste. I agree. We have Hobbit watching on Twitter as well. All directed evolution. I agree. And all fed by the talking heads like hydrogenated vegetable oils. That's a tough word to say. Hey, Jared and Hobbit, great to see you guys on Twitter. Thank you for those comments. Lots of comments from Substack as well. Hey, all you Substackers. In fact, I think we're at an all-time high for viewers on Substack today, growing by leaps and bounds, which is super exciting. Nestor, with a comment, that's crazy, over 2 magazines. I carry 2 spares in a New York reload most of the time. It's amazing that they're saying you can carry a gun, but you can't carry the ammo. So what is the point of carrying the gun? Like all of this discussion about he had 2 magazines as if, so it's insane. And I'm really thankful for Gun Owners of America. They're featured in this piece. Gun Owners of America had this to say, federal agents are not highly likely to be legally justified in shooting concealed carry licensees who approach while lawfully carrying a firearm, the group wrote. The Second Amendment protects Americans' rights to bear arms while protesting, a right that the federal government must not infringe upon. Thank you, Gun Owners of America, for that statement. It is desperately needed, this sanity. Yeah, very good on YouTube. Great to see you all on YouTube as well. AHYU2PI. I don't know who that is, but hello. Ideals are peaceful. History is violent. Well, we're going to go for peace here on the SJ Show. Let's talk about what's happening in gold and silver markets before we close out the show. We've got about 5 more minutes, but I wanted to read this to all of you. The economy is on the brink. And it's unlike anything that we've ever seen in my lifetime. We have known for the past 20 years that profligate debt and deficit spending would eventually come back to bite us. The chickens will eventually come home to roost here in the United States of America. We have abused our position as the reserve currency for the world. And it now appears that the globe, is shorting the US dollar. And this is why we're seeing what is happening with gold and silver. Gold is at 5,097. Silver is at 109. And this is from a piece from No Limit Gains on Twitter. They have some pretty good stuff over there. But this makes a lot of sense. I like this overview because it's in layman's terms and it makes it understandable. We had Peter Schiff on the show last week. We had Catherine Austin Fitz on the show the week before. We've gone deep into the mechanics of the U.S. economy and what is happening with the plunder here in the United States. by the political class, but I don't think people realize what is coming. This is unprecedented, especially what's happening in silver. They have suppressed silver for decades. And finally, the suppression of silver, they can't control it anymore. And in a lot of ways, it's because, it has a lot to do with China and foreign governments purchasing. But they're looking at the global markets here. And what he's saying is that the markets are no longer pricing in a recession. They're actually pricing in a total collapse of trust in the US dollar. And so this is what many are predicting will happen next. When the two oldest forms of money on earth move like this simultaneously, gold and silver, it is a clear sign that something is seriously broken. Silver is up nearly 7% in a single session, violently catching up to gold. And people are not buying metals because they want to. They're buying metals because they're terrified of holding anything else. Currencies, stocks, bonds, treasuries, massive sell-off of US treasuries in just the past week by governments like Denmark, Russia, and China. Okay. And so there's nowhere to put your money. There's no safe place to put your money. Not currencies, as I mentioned, not stocks, not bonds. Real estate is tough. So we're seeing a mass exodus out of the system that has dominated markets, global markets, for 70 years. And that's the US fiat currency, the dollar that enjoyed reserve status. We're seeing the entire globe flee. And it's happening very, very quickly. And it's going to get crazier. They go on. The price that you see on your screens isn't even the real price. The price people are willing to pay, it's the price that people are willing to pay for paper, okay, without ever touching the physical thing, gold or silver itself. But in China, an ounce of silver is selling for $134 per ounce. In Japan, $139 per ounce. And these are premiums that we have never seen. So as stock futures begin to bleed out, big funds will be forced to sell their gold and silver just to cover their losses in tech and AI. So we are also beginning to see the reality of the AI tech bubble, a massive, massive bubble, a bubble to rule all other bubbles. It's an everything bubble. Because all of the printed money has gone into propping up these fake companies that do nothing and make nothing. They don't make any money. These tech stocks don't make any money. They don't do anything. And so this is about to be realized. So we're looking at a dollar crash. We're looking at a stock market crash. We're looking at the explosion of the AI tech bubble. And when that happens, people are going, clearly, everyone in anticipation of that have been going into gold and silver, and people who have not gotten into it are going to be sorry that they haven't. Now, this could be anywhere from a year to 2 years away, or it could be even sooner. But I really highly recommend that you guys get involved, start to learn about metals, think about a metal strategy. You guys know I partner with Peter Schiff, so he sponsors the Shannon Joy Show. I'm the very first show he's ever sponsored, ever, and I couldn't think of a better partner to have. So my page is schiffgold.com/joy. Make sure you go there and check things out. You can buy T-Gold. You can buy physical gold and silver at some of the best prices, closest to spot price of anywhere. And you can also talk to his you can look at his investment funds as well. So there's a 800 number on my website, schiffgold.com/joy. But so what's going to happen is as the stock futures begin to bleed out, big funds will be forced to sell their gold and silver just to cover their losses in tech and AI. Okay. Metals won't crash though. Metals are going to continue to go high. It's a forced liquidation before we go even higher. And the Federal Reserve, as we know, is trapped. And this is the trap that we find the Federal Reserve in. If they cut rates to save the crashing stock market, gold hits 6,000 like that instantly as inflation absolutely spirals. If they hold rates to save the dollar, the housing and equity markets will collapse. So there's no good scenario. There's no scenario here. And it's astounding to me that people on the right have no clue. They have no clue because they're listening to Sean Hannity and Glenn Beck and Fox News and right-wing talk radio and Alex Jones and all of the crazy influencers and conning people like, whoever, I don't even want to go into it. All the bizarro con people. The number of Americans who normally have their heads on straight and we would be worried about these things and ready for something like this are going to be completely blindsided. If they hold rates to save the dollar, as I mentioned, there's no good scenario here for the Fed. So things are going to get a little messy. I would highly recommend that people begin to educate themselves on gold and silver. Peter Schiff has a weekly show. He does a full report, it's a couple hours long every week. He's a phenomenal resource. You can get that show also on my site, schiffgold.com/joy. And Jack Gamble, he does a 30-minute. If you're following on Twitter right now, Jack Gamble, his Twitter handle is it's at Jack or JG_nuke. He is phenomenal. He does a 40-minute to an hour update every morning. And I'm finding his analysis to be some of the best out there. A great follow is Tiffany Cianci on Twitter and also on TikTok. And then, of course, Catherine Austin Fitz over at Solari. If you're not subscribed to Solari, I highly recommend that you do so ASAP. We need to learn now about how to save our finances and how to protect our finances as much as humanly possible so that enough of us are solvent when things like this happen, and then we can be blessings to people in our own communities and our families. And that is the mission, as many people as humanly possible. So we're going to be keeping an eye on all of this. And we have a great lineup. Oh, yes, I am going to have Dr. Joe Sansone on. Yes, I see. Yeah, Dr. Sansone is going to be on again, probably this week. So I will update you when he's coming on, but we do have a big week. Matt Kibbe coming up tomorrow on the SJ Show and David Knight on Thursday. So we're going to have a huge week of guests. I'm so thankful for all of you who have been with us today here on the SJ Show. The growing audience over at Substack. Love you guys. You're great. Please consider becoming a paid subscriber to my Substack. It really helps keep the show independent. Appreciate all of you. For those of you watching on Rumble, thanks for being with us on the live chat. Of course, Twitter and Facebook and YouTube as well. You guys are amazing. And yes, Dr. Joe Sansone, David Knight, and Matt Kibbe. Thank you for reminding me about Sansone because I was talking to him last week. All right, you guys have a wonderful day. We'll be back tomorrow to do it all again right here on the SJ Show.